Alright, let's do this one last time. Spider-Man Across the Spiderverse is an immaculate movie, an all-time animated feature, and its extreme success critically and commercially was due to the high level of quality the film achieved in every aspect, from animation to music to cinematography to editing to character work. Speaking of great character work, one of the surprisingly strong characters was none other than the Spot. Somehow, the writers of this movie managed to turn this villain of the week into a massive threat and a fan favorite.
Please, just let me rob you!
I'm going to rob you!
There's no reason to bring wood into this. I've never robbed anybody in my life. Please don't make this a bad experience for me.
I'm gonna take everything from you, like you took everything from me.
So today, my job is to analyze how they were able to achieve this twist in an effective way. To do this, I will break my analysis down into two distinct categories: clever subversion and fulfilling the arc. Really quick though, if you liked the video, then please leave a like and subscribe and help me reach my goal of 10,000 subs by the end of the year. Also, should go without saying, but there will be spoilers ahead, so beware. Okay, without further ado, let's begin. To start off this first category, I'm going to explain a common writing trick to help establish your main character for the audience, and that is what I call the first act showcase. Oftentimes in action or superhero movies, the first scene with the hero will be a fight or encounter with a lower tier threat. There are several advantages to beginning your movie this way. The first act showcase allows you to demonstrate your main character's abilities, weaknesses, flaws, their status quo, and even the setting your film takes place in, and the rules and norms of that setting. This opening action sequence also captivates your audience right off the bat, and keeps them more engaged in your story. A good example of this first act showcase is in the movie Black Panther. In T'Challa's first fight against M'Baku, we get a sense of the setting and rules of Wakanda, T'Challa's fighting prowess and capabilities, and what his weaknesses might be. Same thing in the first act showcase of Lightyear. We see Buzz's flaws, his status quo, and his abilities. Same thing in the first action sequence of Inception. We see the capabilities of the main characters and learn the rules of the story. You could probably think of dozens of examples of traditional stories that open with some kind of similar scene, where the good guy fights some weaker villain that doesn't return later in the film, and the sole purpose of that encounter is to help convey aspects about the hero, such as their abilities and character flaws. But if you watched Spiderverse, then you know that this film is anything but traditional. The Spot was marketed as and depicted as the warm-up, so to speak, or the weaker, narratively irrelevant villain who is just there so the audience can get a sense of the protagonist's character. Because that's all he was made out to be, that's all that was expected of him, which is why his eventual rise to dangerous supervillain was so unexpected. It's not just due to his goofy personality that we don't see this twist coming, it's because we have been so conditioned as moviegoers to expect this first act villain of the week to stick to the stereotype. Most of the popular movies we watch stick to similar writing structures, so when we see a character like the Spot, who has all the attributes of a traditional first act showcase villain, then we automatically assume that that will be his role in the film. We expect him to be dealt with fairly easily, and then we expect that we will be introduced to the main threat a bit later in the film. That is where the genius subversion of Spider-Verse comes into play. The writers intentionally set up the Spot to adhere to conventional expectations that we have for this type of character, knowing that our familiarity with those film norms would make us prematurely determine the role the Spot would play in the film. That is why the twist is so unexpected, because after following all the beats of a traditional villain of the week, the Spot all of a sudden takes on more agency in the film until he eventually becomes the main threat. This would be like if Bartok from Captain America the Winter Soldier lost to Cap at the beginning and then returned as the actual main threat instead of Bucky. Having the first act showcase villain actually return and become the main antagonist of the film is a rare move that we don't normally see in mainstream media. So the Spot's transformation from villain of the week into supervillain is very surprising to a mainstream audience. Okay, so in that last category, we analyzed why the Spot's metamorphosis into a threat was so surprising and effective as a twist. Now Now, let's look at why it's also compelling. Oftentimes, a villain will have some kind of objective or goal that they're pursuing, which is the motivator for their wrong actions. For example, in the first Spider-Verse movie, Kingpin did everything he did with the Collider in order to achieve the goal of bringing back his family. The Spot also has a goal driving his actions, but it's a little bit different than most traditional villains. The motivation for the Spot is to be respected as a villain and reach his full potential. His goal is growth. So unlike a lot of traditional villains, the Spot is not a stagnant character or someone who stays the same throughout the entire film. He has a character arc. Admittedly a simple one, but an arc nonetheless. Simply put, he goes from being disrespected by his enemy and seeing his powers as a curse, to being feared by his enemy and understanding his powers as a potent weapon. It is once he begins to change his mentality and grow from his character flaw of self-hatred and self-pity that he begins to truly transform into a worthy opponent for Spider-Man. The reason his transformation into multi-dimensional threat is so compelling for the audience is because that is the completion of his character arc. It is the payoff to the setup. The Spot's transformation in this movie is actually extremely similar to Miles' character arc from the last movie, learning how to properly use his powers and learning to believe in himself. Similar to how Miles' leap of faith was the emotional culmination of all the growth he had gone through during the course of the movie, the Spot's transformation is also compelling because it is also the fulfillment of his character arc, being able to grow from his flaws and earn his proper respect in the face of resistance. I can't even begin to describe how absolutely flabbergasted I was when I first watched Across the Spider-Verse and witnessed how the writers took this seemingly joke character and somehow turned him into the main threat in a natural, compelling, and logical way. It's nice to see big movies like Spider-Verse take writing conventions and then make an effective twist out of them by using the audience's expectation of that norm being adhered to. So hopefully more movies will do that in the future. As great as the Spot was though, I honestly think I like the film's second antagonist, Miguel O'Hara, even more. And if you want to learn more about why he was such a great antagonist, then you can watch my character study on him, link will be in the description, or you can check out my character study playlist on my channel. I plan on making at least one more Spider-Verse video, well, because I really love this movie. So if you want to catch my next Spider-Verse video when it drops, then please be sure to subscribe and turn on that bell. Remember to leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you all on the next one. Have a great day.